Look carefully. A box of eggs falls on the ground. The man is about to pick them up. But he is astonished to find that the eggs started bubbling and turned into fried eggs. This is on a busy street. Not in a frying pan. The man looked to the side, and the ground began to crack, emitting a red glow accompanied by a thunderous sound. A hot, tube-like object emerges from beneath the ground. The man, Cheng Long, senses a major problem, doesn't even unplug his car and immediately drives away. Meanwhile, the cracks in the ground continue to widen, and flames mixed with lava shoot up into the sky. Cheng Long runs frantically, and even the intersection ahead explodes. He makes a sharp turn, but the streets are no longer safe, as explosions are happening everywhere, and the ground starts to collapse. The skyscrapers fall one after another like dominoes. A Hummer car tries to overtake Cheng Long, but it is crushed by a falling building. The heat filled the car with steam, just as Cheng Long have wiped his sweat. Suddenly a car appears in front of him. He quickly steers to the left, escaping another disaster. The cars on the overpass are motionless, and Cheng Long slams on the brakes. He looks at the thermometer, and to his astonishment, it shows 57 degrees Celsius. He gets out of the car and looked back. Hong Kong is already in ruins. However, the eerie phenomenon is not limited to just one place. In Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Don't blink. Something big is about to happen. People on the beach are sunbathing, when suddenly giant waves surge up, and in the next moment, the waves instantly frozen. The entire sea then visibly freezes into ice. People on the beach start screaming and running away. But there is no escaping the forces of nature. Wherever the cold air passes, everything instantly freezes into ice sculptures. There are thousands of people on the beach, but none of them survive. A woman with long legs runs towards the city. But even the cars in the city cannot withstand the freezing. Birds in the sky are all frozen, falling onto the ground like hails hammering down. The woman continues to run, and at that moment, the engine of an airplane freezes and falls straight down from the sky, crashing into a small street. The woman runs into a corner, with no way to escape, watching as her fate approaches. Then, a weather satellite in space is destroyed, bringing an end to the disaster in Brazil. People in the control room start applauding. However, disasters of this magnitude are simultaneously occurring in over 200 cities worldwide. A man in the desert of Dubai turns around and is immediately shocked, his eyes nearly popping out. The seawater rushes towards him from behind, instantly engulfing the man, and the entire city is swallowed by the sea in an instant. Do you believe in the end of the world? The computer displays that there is only 1 hour and 30 minutes until the geological storm occurs on Earth. At that time, all natural disasters will erupt simultaneously, and human civilization will vanish instantly. Why is this happening? 3 years ago, it turns out that human destruction of the Earth's environment reached its peak. Rising temperatures and melting ice caps triggered a global cleansing mode. Tornadoes, tsunamis, earthquakes, and other natural disasters continued to occur. In order for human to control nature, 17 countries came together and launched thousands of weather satellites. Each satellite controlled the weather of a specific city, forming a network of satellites to regulate extreme climates. This project was called Dutch Boy, which refers to the boy who plugged the dam with his finger. For 3 years, humanity enjoyed clear skies and sunny weather. But today, something unexpected happened. Cheng Long, the manager of the Hong Kong weather satellites, quickly checked the status of the satellites, only to find that his access was restricted. He immediately contacted Max, the head of Dutch Boy, but even Max's access was limited. What could be the reason for this? Meanwhile, a group of people barged into Cheng Long's location and took away all the data. Cheng Long managed to hide in a storage room and escaped unscathed. He realized that someone was intentionally using the satellites to create disasters. Inside the control center of the space station, the Hong Kong weather satellite was retrieved for repairs. A maintenance worker, who's a dimwit, secretly copied the satellite's data and hid it in a storage locker. This action brought him a fatal disaster. As he was walking through a corridor, the doors suddenly closed in front and behind him, trapping him inside. Then, the glass began to shatter, and the dimwit was sucked out into space, meeting a tragic end. His attempt to steal data ended in disaster. With a series of accidents, the United States had no choice but to seek help. They found Jake, the founder of the Dutch Boy system. Jake and the overall commander, Max, were brothers. Initially, Jake was in charge of Dutch Boy, but due to his disdain for the higher-ups, he had a quarrel with Sean's foster father, the old director. He almost ended up being operated on by Sean, resulting in him being replaced by his younger brother, Max. On Max's first day in office, he fired his brother. Now, Max has no choice but to ask his brother for help. As for Jake, he is still angry, But Dutch Boy is his life's work. He decides to board a spacecraft to find the cause of the malfunction. Have you ever seen snow in the desert? In the scorching desert, a military officer picks up a handful of snowflakes from the ground. The soldiers look up in astonishment as they see the village ahead completely frozen under heavy snow. This is a desert where temperatures reach up to 49 degrees Celsius. The military decides to enter the village and investigate. The people in the village are frozen stiff, standing on the streets. It is evident that they were instantly frozen. A soldier, curious, touches someone's finger, and in the next moment, his entire hand falls off. It seems that at that moment, the temperature dropped to minus 180 degrees Celsius, turning the bones into crumbs. The abnormality here reaches the higher authorities' attention, with access to the weather satellites being restricted. Max finds a hacker and discovers that someone recently accessed the satellite system and tampered with the permissions. Meanwhile, Jake is alone, sitting in a spacecraft and flying to the control center in space. He discovers that the log of the malfunctioning satellite has been completely deleted. Jake can only retrieve the malfunctioning satellite for further inspection. How can one survive in space? Jake exits the airlock for inspection, but before he can begin, the robotic arm goes out of control, which is completely unexpected. Acting like a large hammer, randomly pounding inside the spacecraft, the satellite is destroyed, and all the data is completely scrapped. Fortunately, Jake notices in the surveillance that the data hard drive is stuck in a cable. Jake and the space station commander put on their spacesuits and exit to retrieve the hard drive. They successfully retrieve the hard drive, but just as Jake is preparing to return, his spacesuit suddenly loses control, causing him to float and collide in space. Just as he is about to drift into space, he grabs onto a cable and slips through by a whisker. After Jake returns, he secretly tells the station commander that he managed to get the hard drive. There must be a mole in the space station. Later, Jake discovers in the surveillance that maintenance worker has hidden a data disk. Upon seeing the data on the disk, he realizes that the high-ranking officials are secretly controlling the satellites. Jake gives a hint to Max, revealing that the satellites are under the control of the US president. On Qinglong's side, he contacts Max, and just as the two are about to meet, someone pushes Qinglong into the middle of the road, and a car speeds by and hits Qinglong. Moments before his death, Qinglong tells Max to investigate the Zeus project. The end of the world is imminent. At this moment, computers start issuing warnings. There is only 1 hour and 30 minutes left until the global storm strikes. When that happens, all disasters on Earth will erupt simultaneously, leading to the extinction of humanity. The only salvation lies in rebooting the system of the Dutch Boy. However, only the president knows the reboot password. Luckily, Max's girlfriend, Sarah, is the president's personal bodyguard, but Sarah doesn't believe that it is the president's wrongdoing. Seconds and minutes pass, and the weather satellites protecting major cities on Earth start operating in reverse, destroying human civilization. In the scorching lands of Brazil, humans are instantly frozen. In the extremely cold regions of Russia, the temperature suddenly rises, and humans are roasted. Mumbai, India, experiences a Category 10 tornado, while Japan is bombarded with basketball-sized hail. At this point, satellite data reveals that hundreds and thousands of weather satellites have malfunctioned. Jake initiates the replacement satellite device, and a few malfunctioning satellites are destroyed in the process. Meanwhile, the space station suddenly activates its self-destruct mode, indicating that the mastermind behind all this intends to destroy the entire space station. Time is running out. But how can they obtain the president's reboot password? Max shares the secret he discovered with the vice president. The vice president reveals that the password is the president's fingerprint and iris pattern. He claims to assist Max, but then pulls out a gun, intent on killing him to cover up the plot. It turns out the vice president is the mastermind, intending to blame the president for the satellite catastrophe and seize power himself. Fortunately, Max is quick-witted and manages to escape. Max and Sarah stage a kidnapping of the president. Have you ever seen a president being kidnapped? The US president is giving a speech, and suddenly, his personal bodyguard rushes into the venue, declaring that an assassin is targeting the president. This has caused a chaos to the crowd. Sarah disperses all the other bodyguards, knocking them out with a single punch, then pulls out a gun and kidnaps the president. At this moment, the sky is filled with lightning and thunder. The United States is under attack by lightning strikes. Shortly after the president emerges, the venue is instantly hit, causing a massive explosion. Max reveals the vice president's conspiracy to the president, but initially, the president doesn't believe it. However, when he turns around and sees the assassin sent by the vice president, Sarah showcases her driving skills, reversing the car while firing back. Seizing the opportunity, She flips the assassin's car to ensure no mistakes are made. The vice president sets up an ambush. When the president's car arrives, the vice president fires an RPG rocket launcher directly at it. The car immediately catches fire, flipping over multiple times. Fortunately, Max had made arrangements beforehand, and the president isn't actually in the car. With a teleportation move, Sarah apprehends the vice president, and the president finally realizes that the vice president is a cunning mastermind. The president quickly enters the password, restarting the satellite system, but the password upload requires manual activation from Jake's side. As the president leaves, he expresses gratitude for Jake's sacrifice. It turns out that once the space station initiates self-destruction, it cannot be stopped. At this moment, there are only 5 minutes and 51 seconds left until the geostorm strikes, after which humanity will be destroyed. The explosion in Jake's location is severe, and other personnel evacuate using escape pods. At the same time, the gravity system is damaged. Jake puts on a spacesuit and hurries to the control room, but one door won't open. Fortunately, the station commander hasn't left, and he opens the door for Jake. At this point, human civilization on Earth is on the verge of collapse. The end of the world is approaching. Seawater floods human cities. Skyscrapers are no match. Even the world's tallest tower, the Burj Khalifa in Dubai, is about to be destroyed and submerged. Other drought-stricken areas are being attacked by Category 20 tornadoes, and some satellites are emitting laser beams capable of destroying everything. Jake begins the system reboot, and satellites are continuously shut down. With just 4 seconds remaining before the geostorm erupts, the reboot is complete, and the virus program is completely eliminated. The crisis for humanity is averted, and the extreme weather disappears along with it. However, the self-destruct sequence of the space station continues. Jake and the station commander are prepared to sacrifice themselves, but a turning point occurs. They hide inside a satellite, and just when everyone thinks that Jake has already sacrificed himself, scientists on the ground suddenly detect a flashing signal. It is a distress signal sent by Jake. Eventually, a nearby spacecraft rescues them, and Jake safely returns to Earth. Jake and his brother Max reconcile, and Max finally finds his loved one. Earth finally returns to its previous tranquility, and the repaired Dutch boy will continue to benefit humanity. The end. The film is called Geostorm. The question for this episode is, what do you think is the most terrifying natural disaster? Earthquakes, tornadoes, volcanic eruptions, etc. Kay thinks earthquakes are the most terrifying, because I experienced one. It was around 9 o'clock at night. I was on the 4th floor, and suddenly the light on the ceiling started swinging. I couldn't even stand properly. Realizing it was an earthquake, I quickly ran downstairs. Many people ran out onto the streets at that time, some of them wearing only their underwear. The mobile phone network was completely paralyzed, and all lines were busy. Some people weren't able to go back upstairs for the whole night. That experience is still vivid in my memory. The film is good. I recommend watching it. Remember to give Kay a thumbs up, and also follow and subscribe. See you in the next episode. Bye.